So it is the first time that I watch one of these guys' videos. His name is, well, his channel's name is Coding Jesus. That's an awesome name, Coding Jesus. He does look like the, I don't know, how I imagine Jesus to look like in his human form. But let's not get into religion or any of that stuff. But yeah, he's talking about the US tech job market right now. Apparently, he quit his job a few weeks ago. I don't know, so something like that. Um, let's take a look at his video and let's watch. And don't forget to subscribe.
I was wrong about the current state of the US tech job market, and I only realized it after I started interviewing. The fact that I'm admitting that I started interviewing already means that you guys know I've resigned at my current place of employment and I've accepted an offer elsewhere. But I really just want to reflect on the entire process because I have a lot of thoughts and I want to, use my platform to communicate those thoughts with you guys. So let's actually start off with some context. I've written these notes down here. It's almost midnight on a Friday. I'm wearing a tank top, but let's get into it. Guys, around 4 months ago, I started interviewing.
Okay.
I started interviewing because I wanted to look for new opportunities. And as I was interviewing, or actually before I was interviewing, I came into it with the thought process of, the market's great. I don't know what people online are talking about.
I do believe that was a mistake. Before you, everyone is different, but I do believe that if you are going to quit your job, you need to see what is waiting for you. So at least take a look at the current job market. It's not, this year is not the same as 4 years ago or 5 years ago when companies were fighting to hire new employees, especially software engineers. So it's a mistake to not at least take a brief look at the current job market. He only had to watch a few YouTube videos to realize that it is tough out there. People have to interview for months and months, or even more than a year to get an offer. So that was a mistake, in my humble opinion.
You guys know I'm a very online person. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about software engineering religiously. I'm on Reddit, looking through forums, hearing people complain. And I thought to myself, they're just lazy. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm being vulnerable with you guys. I'm telling you how I really thought it was. I was what's the word? Boomer pilled, I guess. So I thought you just have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, hunker down, and everything will be okay. There's a lot of different dip problems out there, and that's really what I want to talk about. So now that you guys understand the context, let's get into my own personal observations.
Okay.
The first thing that I think is broken with the current state of the US tech job market is that companies are not filtering candidates properly. CS career students are going to disagree with me on this because, in my opinion, LeetCode doesn't measure whether or not you will excel at the position you're applying for. It measures how well you can test in correlation to how much free time you have. Let me tell you what I mean by that.
I do get his point. He's basically saying that people that have more free time to practice LeetCode questions are going to be better at interviewing because they have more practice. At least that's what I understand. He's gonna explain a little further, but if that's his point, I do have to agree with him. I have never been a huge fan of this of the coding interview process and the coding all the steps that are taken when you interview for a position as software engineer. They give you a set of problems about data structures and algorithms that you have to solve. And obviously, if somebody has been practicing for a year non-stop LeetCode problems, HackerRank, and from all of those websites, he's obviously going to be better than someone that has just been practicing for a few days, right? It's pretty obvious. You will probably find similar questions, similar problems, so you're going to be better, and that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be better at the position, right? Probably the other guy is much better at, I don't know, at at Android development or iOS development or web development, but since you have been practicing more LeetCode problems, you are going to get the position. I do get what he's saying, so I kind of agree with him. Let's hear what he has to say.
Let's say you currently have a job, you're in your mid-20s, 30s, even 40s, you're looking to interview elsewhere.
Yeah.
You might be dissatisfied at work, or maybe you just think there might be better opportunities for you, out there. Essentially, you need to study while maintaining
Yeah, and you don't have that much free time when you are working.
your current place of employment. So you're working 8 to 9 hours a day. By the time you get home,
Of course.
you might have other obligations.
Yeah,
You
your
have a
family.
partner, maybe you have kids,
Yeah.
maybe you have hobbies. Maybe you're just playing video games because you're tired.
Your
By the
YouTube
time
channel.
you're done all that, it's 9 p.m. Are you really in the mood to grind through inverting
No,
a
of course
binary
not.
search tree? Are you really in the mood to figure out how to find an element in a rotated sorted array? Probably not.
Yeah, I 100% agree with him. When I was interviewing for my current position, I was already working, and it was very tiresome to. You just finished your day's job. You want to relax, and then it's probably, like he said, 9, 10 p.m., and then you have to practice LeetCode problems. You don't want to do that. You want to relax. You want to play video games. You want to watch a movie. I don't believe that makes you lazy. You are just tired. You are just a human. So he's 100% right.
And that's why I say that CS career students are probably going to be more adamant against this point than I am, because they're not in industry. They have
They can
3 to maybe
practice.
5 hours a day of classes at most, and then it's essentially a couple of projects and free time. And LeetCode tests how much free time you have to problem solve. That's about it, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about something very similar. And I think that nowadays companies expect too much from too many people. What do I mean by that? I've gone through interviews where you have multiple tech rounds that are broken into networking, computer architecture, concurrency, etc., 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 etc. These are all important topics, but to expect a candidate to remain sharp on these topics for that long of a time, I just don't think is very reasonable.
Yeah, I don't think
I
it's
think
fair.
that companies are not very comfortable just not knowing a lot about a candidate. So they test every single faculty of his or her reasoning, and that causes candidates to burn out. Think about it like this. Let's say you're a very strong Spartan, and you're a gladiator in some sort of ring, and you get 3 lines thrown at you. 3 rounds of lines: kill a lion A, kill lion B, kill lion C. You can probably do that if you're very well prepared and you're the top gladiator in all of Rome. But can the top gladiator of all of Rome go through 30 rounds of lions? No. Doesn't matter how smart he is, eventually he's going to get tired, and eventually he's going to die. And that's what's happening to candidates in interviews. They're metaphorically dying because they're being given so many tech rounds, and they need to remain so sharp and brush up on things so quickly that it's virtually impossible to do so and excel in the way that companies are looking for you to excel.
Yeah.
That brings me to the actual rounds themselves.
By the way, I just watched Gladiator 2. I like the movie. It's not as good as the first one, but it's a good movie. And what he said about the rounds of interviews, that's true. Sometimes you have to go through 3, 4, 5, 6 different rounds of interviews, coding problems, system design problems, soft skills questions, interview with a hiring manager, on-site interviews. It's just tiresome, and you can't be a master at everything.
I've interviewed at a bunch of different companies. The companies that I really like are quick. They iterate very quickly. So you'll have 5 rounds. They might be over the course of 2 to 3 weeks at most for those 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Other companies that, in my opinion, don't do things well, and this is the majority of companies in the US tech job market, which is why it's such a mess, they will have 8 rounds over the course of 6 weeks. Asking somebody to remain sharp for 6 weeks is a very difficult ask. that's asking them to brush up on whatever they need to prepare for, behavioral, technical, etc., for at least an hour a day for those entire 6 weeks. And that's a big time commitment that not a lot of people can make. And some of the best candidates out there just don't have the ability to do so, that time commitment to give to these companies. They're asking for too much, and they're stretching their rounds over a period of time.
Yes, that's true.
Let's also kind of just get to something a little.
They sometimes they even give you a project to finish. They tell you to build an app or design a feature or something like that, and that takes time. And then again, you're at disadvantage against people that have more free time.
A little more basic. Not a lot of people are hiring. I don't know why people are painting rosy pictures of the state of the U.S. economy. If tech is struggling, there's a lot of other people struggling out there.
Yeah.
There might be, for example, one opening to hire one person, and there might be 3,000 applicants in 3 days. So you're facing 2,999 other people. From that perspective, it'll really blackpill you. It'll make you feel like, oh, there's no point of applying. I understand that it is depressing. It's depressing because you are now comparing yourself to others instead of focusing on yourself.
Yes, that's the dark side of networking and social networks nowadays. If you see an open position at LinkedIn for any kind of position, you immediately see 500 people applying for that position, then 1,000, then 2,000, then 3,000. It's impressive how many people apply almost immediately. It's obvious that there is software out there that can help you immediately apply. I do believe that LinkedIn even helps you with that. I don't know, but yes, it is disheartening when you try to look for a new position, for a new job, and you see that you are competing against thousands.
Yourself, and that's going to put you in a state of mind that makes you anxious.
Yeah.
And as a candidate, the last thing you want to be is anxious. I think on the front end, in terms of rounds, candidates nowadays in the US job market don't get enough clarity. They don't get enough clarity. What do I mean by that? A company will say you have a technical round. You'll ask, hey, what type of technical round? Pair programming, computer architecture, concurrency, high-level discussion about my experience. They'll say it's a technical round.
Yeah.
That's like a professor saying you have an assignment, but I'm not going to tell you what you have to do. It's like, do you want me to fail? You know, how am I supposed to...
Yeah, they don't tell you what the interview is going to be about. They just tell you that it is going to be a technical interview, but they don't give you details. Obviously, that's not the case for every company. Some companies do give you a guide and that tells you what kind of questions are going to be asked. They tell you what topics to look for and all of that, but that's not the case for all of them. Sometimes they just tell you that it's going to be a technical interview and to prepare. Well, what the heck? That can mean a lot of different things. That can mean that they are going to do domain-specific questions, like if you're applying for a mobile development position for Android, you're going to be asked about Android architecture and maybe create a little app or something. That can be a technical a coding interview question where they give you a problem and you have to solve it using data structures and algorithms. It can be anything, so it's difficult when they do that.
Supposed to do a good job if you're not telling me what I'm being tested on. Now, a good company will say you're doing a LeetCode question. That's all they really need to provide, and I've interviewed at companies that are like that, and that's great. But a lot of companies are just very, very
Vague.
Set in their ways as to not telling a candidate how they need to prepare. And that only hurts, in my opinion, the company itself. Because what will happen is a candidate will say, well, there's 40 technical topics I can be asked about. I can be asked about 100 different things. I'm just going to study them all and have a surface level understanding. And that's not the best way to test the candidate's knowledge and their ability to retain info. Because then they're tested on concepts that they might have not even studied for, which don't really reflect how well they're able to study and what they know, or they're tested on a topic that they've studied maybe 30 minutes for at most. And you're not going to have a good time if that's how much you've studied for a topic that you're asked about in an interview. Okay. That's the front end on the rounds. Now the back end. The back end of the round is essentially the feedback part. So if you're doing great, you have good feedback, you're pushed through. But where companies in the US market really struggle is they just don't give great feedback. The worst thing they will do to you is
Yes, that is a huge problem, and that happens with most companies. They just tell you that, well, you didn't pass the interview. They don't tell you why, they don't tell you how to improve, they don't give you any pointers. And that's the case for, at least in my experience, for most companies. They have a policy of not telling you why you failed. They just tell you that you failed and that's it. They send you a generic email telling you that, sorry, but we are not going to move forward with your interview process and good luck. So you don't know what was the problem. Maybe you coded the app well, but they didn't like your attitude. Maybe they liked your attitude, but they didn't like how you solved the problem. They don't tell you if maybe it can be a lot of different things. So yeah, companies suck at that. And I have heard that some do it because they don't want candidates to, I don't know, to tell others why they failed so they can pass. They don't want other people to cheat. And that's just dumb, in my opinion. They should tell you why you failed.
ghost you. Now, the fact that people are ghosting candidates in 2024 still amazes me to this day. A candidate spend potentially hours, if not weeks, preparing for multiple rounds, and you can't even tell them
Why?
they weren't pressed forward or like what the issue was. That to me is shocking. It's not the way you treat people. So you'll spend all this time and then you just want to know, okay, you don't want to pass me through, great, but at least tell me what I could have done better.
Yes.
That will only make the candidate pool better, and it will only increase the likelihood that people will want to apply at that company, because if you ghost a candidate, it reflects poorly on your firm's image. They're going to talk to other people, and other people are just going to say, well, it might not even be worth applying if that's the way that they treat other candidates, right? So it's not a really good reflection on the culture or the firm's image. Not only do I want to hear about your guys' opinions or comments or thoughts about what I just said, but I also, guys, want to leave you with this. In 2023,
Okay.
I interviewed at multiple companies, 3 months of my time, and it didn't work out. Got very far, but I just ended up landing an offer. And that's okay, because in 2024, I was able to land more than one offer. 2023 made me stronger for 2024.
That's
The worst
great.
case, really, guys, is if you currently have a job, you'll continue working your current job. That's really the worst case if you currently have a job. You'll become more aware as to where you rank in the job market and the certain skills you might need to learn in order to perform better next time. There's always next year, there's always the next couple of months. Heck, there's always new industries, right? You might be interviewing for quant, but you might say, hey, I might try big tech, or I might try a Fortune 500 company, or I might try a different field. I might try going back to school. I realize, hey, I want to actually learn something else. I want to do something different. So see it as a learning opportunity as opposed to a
Failing.
trial that you failed.
Yeah.
It's a door that closes, but like they say, another door, maybe 2 doors will open, because you'll now start to realize things about yourself that you haven't realized before entering this process. Some of you might come out with offers. Some of you might just learn a ton about where you rank in the job market. And, you might say, well, I've actually realized that I really like working where I currently work. That happens too. I've had friends that's happened to. If you guys would like to speak to me one-on-one, maybe you want me to review your resume, Calendly link in the description box below, guys. If you'd like to watch this video early, I release this video early to my patrons. Patreon link in the description box below, guys. And if you guys would like to see my life behind the scenes, I post nothing quant. Don't message me about quant. I will not respond. People keep messaging me. My Instagram has nothing to do with quant trading. You can follow me, my life behind the scenes, at my Instagram, LeetCodingJesus. Link in the description box below, guys.
So that was a great video. I loved his perspective. He's 100% right on the part of learning. Don't get discouraged when you get rejected from a company. It may not have anything to do with you. And like he said, that's it's so sad when a company doesn't even doesn't tell you why you failed. They just send you a generic email of just ghost you, and they don't tell you why you failed. So it may just be that they don't want to hire any more people. There is a hiring freeze. Maybe the budget is gone. So don't worry about that. Just see it as a learning process. And well, I'm certainly going to keep watching his channel. His name is this guy's channel's name is Coding Jesus. It's these are good videos. See you guys in the. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next one.